Good morning, dear students. Today, I will discuss with you the details of Chapter 13 in Merchant of Venice. The Duke listens to Shylock. Okay, guys, let's refresh our memory with the events of what had happened in Chapter 12. Chapter 12 was talking about Portia's plan and how she was planning to disguise as a man, she and Nerissa, in order to help their husbands in Venice to rescue their friend Antonio. Here, chapter 13 is talking about the Duke and how he will listen to Shylock. As we have discussed before, that Shylock wanted to take revenge from Antonio and take the pound of flesh from his heart. So the issue will be raised to the Duke in order to say what will happen in Antonio's case. Let's read the chapter. Bassanio and Graziano got to Venice as quickly as they could. They were in time to see Antonio and went with him to see the Duke. The Duke had to decide whether Antonio should obey the contract and pay the penalty. If the Duke said Antonio had to pay the penalty, Shylock could take 1 pound of his flesh. The Duke told Antonio that he wished Shylock had some mercy. Antonio knew that the Duke had already spoken to Shylock and asked him to show mercy, but that Shylock had refused. He said that he would not fight with Shylock any longer, but meet his anger quietly. Now, Bassanio and Graziano went to Venice exactly on time when Antonio was going to the Duke because they wanted to discuss the contract, whether Antonio should obey the contract and pay the penalty or not. So the Duke said that Antonio has to obey and to pay the penalty, which is a pound of flesh from his flesh. The Duke wished that that Shylock should have mercy and let go with Antonio. But what had really happened is that the Duke has discussed the issue with Shylock, and unfortunately he doesn't want to give another chance to Antonio to pay the money back, and he wanted to take his penalty. So what Antonio has decided is that to meet Shylock's anger quietly. I am ready to die, he said. The Duke called Shylock to come in. Shylock was waiting outside and came in immediately. Shylock, said the Duke, everyone thinks that you are only demanding the penalty because you are angry. They think that you will change your decision at the last minute and show that you have mercy after all. I agree with them. It would be better if you had mercy now, and did not take a pound of this poor merchant's flesh. Perhaps you will have just a second. You will have mercy on this merchant for all the troubles. Just a second, please. For all the troubles he is having with the loss of his ships and cargoes. This is what we expected you to do. Shylock, however, was not going to do that. I have told you, he explained, what I want to do. If you do not allow it, no man will do business with Venice again, because they cannot trust its law. Would you like to know why I want a pound of this man's flesh rather than $30,000? I will tell you. What if I had a rat in my house and paid someone $10,000 to kill it? Antonio is as bad as any rat. There are people who hate cats or some kinds of food. They cannot say why they hate them, but they do. In the same way, I hate Antonio. I cannot and will not give a reason. Is that an answer? That's not an answer, shouted Bassanio. Don't you have any feelings? I don't have to please you with my answers, shouted Shylock. Does everyone kill everything they do not love? Asked Bassanio. Does anyone hate something he would not kill? Do you want a snake to bite you twice? Asked Shylock. Okay, guys, here there is a conversation between Shylock and Bassanio when Shylock refused to have mercy and forgive Antonio. Bassanio was very sad because Shylock said that he wanted to take revenge and to take the penalty, which is a pound of flesh from Antonio's heart. He told him, don't you have mercy? Is this an answer to what we're saying, that you just wanted the pound of flesh? Okay, so what Shylock said was shocking. He said that if a snake bite me once, shall I leave him to bite me twice? I will never forgive him. It was Antonio's turn to speak. It is no use, he said. Do not try to argue with the moneylender. You may as well go to the beach and try to stop the tide. The tide are the waves, or the strength of the waves in the sea. You may as well ask a wolf why he killed the lamb and made its mother cry. You might as well try to stop the tops of the trees from blowing in the wind. All of these things are hard, but Shylock's heart is harder. Please don't argue with him any longer. Give the decision and allow the moneylender to have his pound of, just a second, flesh. So here, when it was Antonio's turn, he said, I will not argue with him. I will not talk to Shylock, because if he decided to do something, he will do it. Like the tide, no one can stop the waves and the tide of the sea. No one can stop the trees from moving when the wind blows. Like exactly Shylock, no one can stop him when he decides to do something. So please, come on, just do the law and take the pound of flesh. Let's continue. Bassanio offered Shylock more money. I will give you $2 for every one that he owes you, he said. If you offered me $60 for every dollar that he owes me, and then 6 times that, I would not take it, replied Shylock. I will have the penalty. The Duke told Shylock, if you show no mercy, you will receive no mercy. I do not need mercy, replied Shylock, for I have done nothing wrong. You all have slaves to serve you. Slaves, it's like servants, but slaves, guys, but slaves are people who are owned by a person. Okay, a servant is someone you pay him and he serves you and that's it. But slaves are people who are not paid and they serve you like that. You call them your own, just like your dogs and cows, and use them however you want, because you bought them. If I told you to make their beds as soft as yours, and let them marry your sons and daughters, and feed them with the same food that you eat, you would say the slaves are ours. This is what I say to you. It is my pound of flesh, and I will have it. If you refuse, the laws of Venice will become a joke. Tell me, will I have it? So now it's a kind of threatening. Um, Shylock was threatening the Duke. He was telling him, if you do not allow me to take the pound of flesh from Antonio, so this means that I will talk to people and tell them that you are not binding to the rules of the country and that Venice is a very bad country and no one will make trading or buy anything from Venice or deal with Venice because the Duke is not binding to the rules and he is not obeying the laws. And he said also that this is his penalty and he wanted to take it. No one is allowed to talk or to convince him to leave his penalty. The Duke would not make a decision. He said he had sent a letter to Padua. He had asked a very famous wise man to come and hear the arguments and help him make a decision. This famous man's name was Valerio, and they would wait until he arrived. Look, guys, look how God was with Antonio. Valerio, that was a friend of, Jessica. He was a friend of Jessica, and he wanted to he wanted the help of, I'm sorry, he was not the friend of Jessica. He was the friend of Portia, that she sent the servant to go to him and get the clothes and the bag. Okay, so I think that he will be in Antonio's side and he will help him out with this problem. So the Duke now is waiting, he and Shylock and Antonio, for Valerio to come back, to come to them and discuss this issue and argument with him. Maybe he will help out. Why? Because he is a wise man and he is a man of religion. Okay, guys, now I would like to discuss the answers of chapter 13 with you. Please open your booklets on chapter 13. The Duke listens to Shylock. Who were the main characters? The main characters were the Duke, Shylock, and Bassanio. Who is the minor character? The minor character was Antonio. Okay, what is the setting? The setting was in Venice and in the court. Complete the following sentences. Number 1, the Duke wished Shylock had some mercy. Number 2, Bassanio offered Shylock to double and triple the money that Antonio borrowed. Number 3, the Duke wouldn't make a decision, so he asked famous wise man from Padua to help him. It's as famous. Okay, question B, answer the following questions. Number 1, Antonio knows that the Duke will do what Shylock wants. Explain. Antonio knows that the Duke can't make Shylock show mercy because it's the law. And Antonio signed the contract. If the Duke didn't follow the law, people wouldn't trust the law of Venice and wouldn't make business with Venice. Number 2, Shylock thinks that he doesn't need mercy. Discuss, I'm sorry. Shylock thought that he would not need mercy as he had not done anything wrong. Shylock said that he owned the flesh, the pound of flesh, and he would take it. As we said, that he insisted on taking his penalty. C, comment on the following quotations. I am ready to die. Comment. Antonio said these words to the Duke, and Bassanio when they both couldn't convince Shylock to show mercy? Number 2, it's no use. Don't try to argue with the moneylender. Comment. Antonio said these words to his friend Bassanio when Bassanio was trying to convince Shylock to show mercy. Okay, question E, cause and effect. We have effect number 1. The Duke sent a letter to Padua. Cause, the Duke couldn't make a decision on Shylock's case. Number 2, we have a cause here. Bassanio wanted to rescue Antonio. What is the effect? He offered to double or triple the money Antonio borrowed from Shylock. Okay, guys, thank you for listening. Have a good day.